Talking to Mayor Kyle Moore today on Quincy Journal TV, and one of the things we wanted to talk about, here we are a week or so after the election, and I know a lot of people were surprised that the school board, the school bond issue passed, not much by the overwhelming margin, but I know one of the things that we've talked about, and you've talked about with other people, is kind of the trickle down and what that win for the bond issue really means for the community as a whole.
Yeah, it really is going to be great for our economy, especially our contractors here. There's a number of different studies you can look at that talks about what effect construction dollars has in a community and jobs created. But over the 5-year period, one study that I looked at said it would be around 750 construction jobs and another 750 indirect jobs. People staying in hotels and buying things and buying building materials. So that's over a 5-year period, 1,400 to 1,500 jobs. In a town our size is huge. It's going to be a great impact. And I came from the private sector. My company was in the private flooring business, and we always had to travel. And so it's going to be nice for our local contractors to be able to get jobs in their community and not have to do jobs that are 2-3 hours away.
And I think another thing is when you look about the business recruiting, I know this is one aspect that they talked about a lot. The doctors who are involved, we're talking about you're trying to recruit physicians, and the first thing they ask, or even maybe trying to recruit university employees, the first thing they're looking at is how are your schools, and here in the next 5 years you're going to be able to say they're brand spanking new.
Yeah, and this is a great marketing tool for our community. I was up in Macomb last week, and the first thing they asked me about was the schools. And so now this is going to put Quincy on the map, that we are a community that cares about our education system, and we are willing to invest when other communities haven't been able to or willing to invest. And so I think not only is it going to be great when we're recruiting professionals in town, recruiting major employers, but to get people to even come and check out Quincy and to get buzz in our community, I think the $89 million bond referendum helped accomplish all those goals.
Yeah, and I think you talk about that and that other, and I think it's just the other aspect is these kids who are coming into school. I've spent the last couple of years going through the schools a lot and covering school board meetings and other things. I think I think the environment will help a lot. I know that a lot of people poo-poo that. It's like, I went to school in a one-room schoolhouse and such, but I still think a lot of these kids are going to get the opportunity to go to brand new schools. I think that's got to feel pretty good too.
I think it's going to be exciting for the students and the parents. And talking with members of the community who are the first class to graduate from the new Quincy High, they remember that, and there was excitement when Quincy High was built in the 70s. And so I think that people are going to want to be the first people into their new elementary school, and they're going to be talking about it. And just in speaking with teachers, to be able to give them the proper tools they need to do the job. So I think it actually might help us recruit some better educators as well. Not saying that anybody that works for the school district is not good, but when we're looking at recruiting educators, I think that's going to be very, very good for our community.
When you talk about the overall economic development toolbox, if you will, one of the things that has really been hotly discussed as of late are incentives, especially with the Newcomb project. I know that's one thing where it started out as, hey, there's TIF money available for this, but the proposal that has come from the Hobart group to develop 4th and Main is a little bigger than that. Where is that project at now, and where do you think it's going to go?
Well, we're wrapping up the fine details of the agreement. Anytime you're in a negotiation, you can agree on some points, but to actually reflect that in contractual language is a whole other story. And so I wanted to make sure that what we were presenting to the Finance Committee is what we present in the final agreement, and that there is protection for taxpayers. That's one of the big issues that people have had with the Newcomb over the years, is that there's no assurity signed to the project. So, in these contract negotiations, what we're going to show is not only is there a performance bond on the $1.8 million, but a performance bond on the total price of the project. That way, if for some reason that the Hobart group walked away, we would be able to complete it. There's also some other safeguards that I put in there that we negotiated. For an example, that the project has to stay market rate apartments if they're enjoying incentives, so that way it can't be 2 years into the project and all of a sudden it becomes subsidized housing. So just working out the fine details and looking at what's in the best interest of the community. I imagine we'll have something 1st of December, maybe last week in November, that we'll present. And I think it's something that's a unique opportunity for us to look at what we've presented before, look at the opportunity we have in front of us, look at what is the value of the TIF district and how we can properly invest that money. And at the end of the day, I'm certainly supportive of the project. I think a lot of community members are. It's something new, but if it becomes too expensive for certain councilmen, then we're going to look at, at least have that conversation. That I think the public needs to know what other communities are doing to invest in their downtown areas.
And not only that, I guess I consider the riverfront, I guess it's considered the downtown as well. To me, that's another area that really, I know over the last year we've gotten some nice new places down there. Cutters was turned into Chicks. You have the Tilted Kilt, you have Bootaloo's, and then you have the old standbys like the Pier. I think that's still an area that is ripe for some more development, some more attention, honestly.
Yeah, I think downtown as a whole is, but I think it's kind of a chicken and the egg scenario, or what comes first, chicken or the egg scenario. If you're going to get a grocery store down here, you need to have people living down here, and so for more businesses to flourish, you need to have people of affluency who are not just here from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but who are spending their dollars here on the nights and the weekends. That's what's so attractive about the Newcomb project, that you have people who can spend $800-900 a month in rent. They're gonna be more apt to frequent our downtown places, and so I think the Newcomb can be a catalyst for development. I think that again, kind of like the schools, it becomes a great marketing piece for the downtown, and I think that whenever I hear naysayers, they always talk about, well, you could get this, you could get that, there's other projects. Nobody's brought forth anything. I've been in office a year and a half. Anybody can come and make an offer, and they haven't. And so I always ask people, if you're not going to support this, what's your plan?
And I think that's one argument, is to say that this is the Hobart people are the ones who step forth, and I think that is a legitimate argument. But then again, people are going to also look at this thing and look at the broader picture of what it's going to entail to make this thing happen. So I think there's still a good conversation to be had by both sides.
And isn't it good for our community that we're talking about a company willing to invest in the community? This is an opportunity for Quincy, and so we shouldn't treat it as something we should be in conflict. It's something that reasonable people can have a dialogue on the pluses and minuses of a project and either agree or disagree, but at least we're talking about development, and that's a good thing for Quincy.
I think when you're talking about that, and the riverfront, downtown, the Broadway corridor, the East End residential area, there, everybody's going to have their own interests, the whole in my backyard or not in my backyard scenario. But in the end, people do have to realize, hey, if this is going to be good for one part of town, it's probably going to be good for the whole town.
Yeah, and I think that we offer incentives in certain portions of town that other portions of town don't enjoy, and we do that because we want to spur development. And so we can't have one section in town just say, I'm disagreeing with the project because I don't get those incentives. If you want those incentives, you've got to invest in that area of town, just like the enterprise zone, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some other time. But if you want enterprise zone incentives, you have to go where the enterprise zone is at. If you want TIF incentives, you have to go where the TIF incentives are at. But overall, more development is good for the community.
No question about it. All right, Mayor Kyle Moore, my guest today. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.